Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us, Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase, pricing, and availability questions regarding this watch. Today, we are discussing the Patek Philippe Nautilus 5711/1A-011. This is the model as it was made with a white dial from 2012 to 2020, so discontinued like all 5711s. Now you know when this variant was made. We have black and gold hands and indices in a case that is stainless steel, 40 millimeters in diameter. I measure it 8.5 millimeters thick, 44.5 from lug tip to lug tip. If we measure the end link on each side, the total distance across the wrist is 48.5. It's a sizable watch, but a very flat one, and that's, in my opinion, one of the two most agreeable qualities of the Nautilus, that it is very flat and compact, and it'll wear well on a wrist as small as 14 centimeters circumference. Mine is 16 for comparison. So the flatness of the Nautilus, its thinness, and also the souplesse of the bracelet in combination with the water resistance is what makes this quite different from most other watches. The timepiece is elegant, graceful, and since the very first one designed by Gerald Genta in 1976, very little has been necessary to improve upon the design. Dial variants, a few case metal, and complication changes over the years have provided variety, but the core Nautilus Jumbo, which is what the 5711 is, has always been the anchor of the collection, and for good reason. It's evergreen like the Porsche 911. Now, when you look at one of the Nautilus chronographs or annual calendars, the bracelets get quite thick and the watch gets quite heavy and almost feels like a Nautilus offshore, whereas the standard 5711, the 5811, the 3700, 3711, 3712, and the 5712 have always had a very silky, lace-like bracelet that's flat and supple and thin. The individual links are thin. The finishing is to a high degree, polish and satin on the top, a pronounced taper down the edge, and then you can see that there's a polished bevel on the shoulders of the links. This watch featuring pin sleeve bracelet construction in the sense that the removable links are fixed by pins and sleeves. Patek's reason for this is that it's less likely to back out than a screw. I'm not sure I'm buying that if you properly torque a screw, but I do give them credit for one claim. They say that it's impossible to strip and strand a pin sleeve. A lot of people will strip out flathead screws, so on that front, Patek is correct. This is a more secure arrangement. We have ceramic spring-loaded pin snaps in here, so over time, this clamshell lock will not wear down the pin snaps and cause this to become loose. It will always be a snappy closure because the steel cannot wear down the ceramic of the pin snap. Now we have the clamshell lock, Calatrava cross. You'll also see it on the rotor. You'll also see it on the crown. It is the logo of the manufacturer. One of the enduring reasons why a Nautilus costs more than an Aquanaut isn't simply positioning in the catalog, although that is part of it. It's the complexity of the Nautilus case. You can see this is a three-piece case, all the 5711s are, but the number of polished and faceted individual surfaces, quite complex, nuanced, and time-consuming to manually finish all of this compared to, say, a standard 5167 Aquanaut. Screw-down crown. Today, all Patek watches are rated to 30 meters. They call that a real 30, so presumably swimmable. But when this was made, Patek's number was 120. Remember I said it's unusual for a watch that is so supple and thin and fine and dress appropriate to also be highly water resistant? Well, that's what I mean by that. The dial is best described as silver white, more white than silver. And we've got these lovely blackened gold hands and indices. There is no shortage of lume on this dial. You can see it now. And one reason why I always thought the Nautilus to be a more highly evolved design than Gerald Genta's 1972 Royal Oak is because the shape of the outer bezel, inner bezel, crystal, and dial, it's all the same. Whereas on a Royal Oak, only the outer bezel is faceted, whereas the inner bezel, the dial, and the crystal, they're all circular. We have the lateral striations that have long been a feature of the Nautilus dials, and we do not actually have hacking seconds on this generation of the Nautilus. So one thing you can do, it's the hacking hack, apply a little bit of back pressure, and you can freeze the center seconds hand on these center second 324s. So if you wish to do so, you can pretty accurately stop the seconds hand right where you want it, and then let it go. When the timing reference coincides with it. If you want to synchronize to a reference time to the second, that's the way to do it. Now, there is a quick set for the date, so no issues there. You can rapidly cycle that when necessary. Inside, we have unidirectional winding, automatic caliber, 324. So unidirectional winding, the rotor sits on ceramic ball bearings, so it's a very efficient combination. Unidirectional, more efficient than bidirectional for winding, and ceramic, more efficient than steel. 4 Hz beat rate, 6-position adjustment, 29 joules, quick set date, Gyromax style free-sprung balance with an anti-magnetic Spiromax silicone hairspring. These watches were rated no worse than -3 plus 2 seconds per 24 hours from the factory, and in many cases they timed even a good deal better than that. 45-hour power reserve isn't a lot, but if you wear it every day, that won't be a problem. Decoration is high grade. A judicious blend of manual and mechanical finishing, but more clearly manual than something like an Audemars Piguet or an FP Journe, where you tend to see things like raw milling marks on bevels. Here, for example, the bevels are probably started by a mechanical device, but then finished using a felt-tipped drill bit that's applied to create rolled, mirrored bevels. We have circular Côte de Genève, linear Côte de Genève, polished screw heads, engine turning on the rotor center, the click wheel, the base plate, several different sizes of engine turning present. Satination on the wheels, snailing on the edge of the rotor. Stripes are linear on the bridges and circular on the rotor. Lots to love here. And a very accurate anti-magnetic and thin and fine movement befitting a legendary watch. If you love this watch, reach out to Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.